Kia ora. So that's hello from New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand in the Southwest Pacific. So I'm an oceanographer, so an ocean scientist. Um, and because it's New Zealand, we don't have a lot of scientists, so we end up doing lots of different things. But I work on how heat mixes in the oceans, sort of in lots of different parts of the oceans. And one area that I've been working on for perhaps the last 10 years is how a warming ocean is affecting the ice around Antarctica. Um, and so that's important because if we melt the ice around Antarctica, we change the reflectivity of the planet, we make the sea levels higher, we change sort of the ecosystems, the biology in the Southern Ocean, which has lots of downstream effects. So um, interestingly, for an oceanographer, though, a lot of the time I'm actually not on a ship. I will be in camps that are based on the ice, and so the expedition we're talking about at the moment was actually hundreds of kilometers from the open ocean and hundreds of meters above the liquid ocean, and we're sitting on ice, measuring what the ocean was doing beneath the ice and uh, how it melts the ice, but also how the melting um, ice shelf then affects how the ocean flows. And so, yeah, it's doing small scale ocean measurements underneath ice. So the part of Antarctica that we're talking about, what is it? It's maybe due south of Hawaii. So you just keep going south. You run into the coast of Antarctica, and then you keep going for another couple of 100 kilometers, and you get to the area that we're working, and it's on the beach, if you like, except the beach is covered in half a kilometer of ice, and that ice flows out and floats out over the ocean in an ice shelf. Um, and so the ice shelf is like the size of France. So it's a massive chunk of ice. It's probably the flattest part of the planet, if you like. So where we were working in this most recent expedition was on the coast, on the beach. But we have done expeditions in the past to the middle of this ice shelf, and there you can stand and sort of rotate 360 degrees, and you basically there's nothing on the horizon except the ice, super flat, but beneath it all is liquid water. It's a pretty serious undertaking. Um, so there are a couple of years of expeditions where they'll go and check out the site and make sort of pre-measurements to make sure everything's safe, but also to make sure the system is what we think it is, based on sort of aerial or satellite imagery. But then a team will drive out literally across the ice for 2 weeks, towing lots of our equipment. And so they spend like a couple of weeks setting everything up for the science team to come in. There's no point the scientists sort of going in early because there's nothing to do, and we don't necessarily we're not necessarily the best people to set up a camp. And we fly in later on once everything's sort of set up. And fly in makes it sound simple. It makes it sound like you're down at the airport just waiting for your flight to be called. The reality is that we will be based out of New Zealand, and we will sometimes have to wait 4 or 5 days for weather to allow us to fly to Antarctica. And then we'll be at one of the bases. In our case, we spend time at Scott Base, the New Zealand base in Antarctica. And then we wait for the weather to get good to be able to fly to the field site. And for us, that requires the weather to be good at Scott Base. It has to be good at a refueling point halfway to where we need to go, and it has to be good at the end point. And then the weather has to be good so that we can know that the aircraft can get back safely. So it is possible to sit and wait for weeks at base, waiting for that sort of perfect set of conditions to come together. But we eventually, well, in this instance, we got out reasonably quickly.